This is Eyewitness News on LA56 with live breaking news.
Breaking news, Brittany Maynard, the terminally ill woman who put a face to the controversial Right to Die movement, has ended her life.
Multiple arrests are made in a hit-and-run crash that killed 3 girls out trick-or-treating on Halloween. We have the details.
And it's a very happy reunion for a Camarillo family. A dog thought to be lost in a mudslide is found safe. We have reaction from a relieved family. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jory Rand.
I'm Giovanna Lotta. Welcome to Eyewitness News on LA56. We begin with that breaking news. Brittany Maynard, the terminally ill woman who put a face to the controversial Right to Die movement, ended her life in Oregon. Maynard was diagnosed with brain cancer on New Year's Day and was later given 6 months to live. She and her husband moved from California to Oregon because of the state's assisted suicide law. News of her death was confirmed today by a spokesperson for Compassion and Choices, the advocacy group Maynard worked with, and propelled her into the national spotlight. The group says Maynard took lethal drugs prescribed by a doctor. Brittany Maynard was 29 years old.
A big break in the case of 3 teens killed by a hit-and-run driver on Halloween night. Police say there have been several arrests in connection to the deaths of the 13-year-old girls. As Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter shows us, there will be a news conference tomorrow giving more details about those arrests.
An emotional prayer as mourners gather at the scene after learning Santa Ana police have made arrests in connection with the deadly hit-and-run.
It's the best news I can hear because, they are guilty. I think they're driving so fast and irresponsible.
Police will only say they have made multiple arrests, no other specifics. The suspect's Honda SUV was found abandoned not far from the crime scene Halloween night. Authorities collecting fingerprints and DNA evidence.
Just to leave like that, and it's just sad for the family.
I couldn't believe what happened and just ran away instead of just waiting there.
Investigators have said they were looking for 2 men believed to have been in the vehicle when it ran down 13-year-olds Andrea Gonzalez and twins Lexi and Alexandra Perez as they were trick-or-treating. As friends and family mourn the loss, those gathered to honor 3 innocent lives hope news of the arrest brings a small sense of closure.
I'm glad they made the arrest, though, and I hope they got the right person. I just hope justice will be done now.
We expect to learn a lot more about those arrests tomorrow morning. That's when Santa Ana police are scheduled to hold a press conference to talk about those suspects. In Santa Ana, Leanne Suter, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Also tonight, the search is on for a hit-and-run driver who killed a 44-year-old mother of 8. It happened shortly after 9 o'clock last night in Anaheim on North Magnolia Avenue near West La Palma. Police say Daniela Palacios was riding her bicycle when she was rammed by a white pickup truck. The victim was taken to a hospital and died early today. Heartbroken relatives placed flowers at the scene of the accident. Coming up in our full report at 8:30, we'll hear an emotional plea from Daniela's relatives.
In South Los Angeles, a photographer at a house party is shot and killed. Now the search is on for the shooter. It happened around 1:30 a.m. at a home on West 77th Street. The victim, identified as 42-year-old Don Irvin Sims Jr. of Inglewood, he was pronounced dead at the scene. We're told Sims had been invited to take pictures at that party, and according to witnesses, an argument broke out with one of the guests over a picture. The argument moved outside, and moments later he was shot. Witnesses say they saw a light-colored sedan fleeing the scene.
A homicide investigation is underway in Fontana following a shooting that left a man dead and 2 others wounded, including a 15-year-old. The shooting happened yesterday afternoon on the 9000 block of Beach Avenue. That's where deputies found the 3 shooting victims. 51-year-old Ronald Belk of Trabuco Canyon died in a hospital. A 48-year-old man and the 15-year-old boy, both from Fontana, remain hospitalized. The suspects are still outstanding.
A SWAT standoff in Long Beach ended after a suspect barricaded himself inside a motel room. There was a 911 call this morning at the Poolside Motel on the 600 block of West Pacific Coast Highway. The caller said there was some trouble. Possibly a weapon was involved. Officers arrived at the scene and made contact with the suspect, who barricaded himself inside of his room. The SWAT team was also called in. The man was taken into custody after SWAT officers entered that room. He was booked on a no-bail warrant.
A suspected drunk driver loses control of his car and crashes into a house in Lancaster. Take a look. It happened about 1:40 this morning on the 2600 block of East Nugent Street. Investigators say the driver smashed through a wall of the house. The car ended up in the living room. Fortunately, the residents were sleeping at the time and were not hurt. The driver suffered minor injuries and was taken into custody.
Animal lovers, you'll like this story. A dog feared dead in a mudslide that swept through a Camarillo neighborhood has been found alive. And today, he was reunited with his owners. Eyewitness News reporter Melissa McBride is in Camarillo with the heartwarming story.
5-year-old Tinkerbell is back where she belongs after spending a day and a half trapped inside her family's mud-filled home.
It's such a relief, such an emotional relief.
Henry and Mim Needham's house was inundated with mud when the rain came down Friday night. A clogged debris basin overflowed. It happened so quickly, 2.5 feet of mud poured in. Henry couldn't find Tinkerbell and asked firefighters to look for her.
I wanted to go in and I couldn't get them to let me go in, and they went looking and they said, we couldn't find her, we didn't see her.
The Needhams believed their dachshund had been buried alive, but this morning their grandson returned to the home, heard a bark, and then saw Tinkerbell in the window. Soon after, a muddy Tinkerbell was reunited with Mim and Henry.
Oh, I was tears of joy, crying.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
He cried from happiness. He could not believe it.
Neighbors shared in the celebration.
You could look around and see tears flowing from everybody. A miracle happened on San Como Lane in Camarillo Springs.
Sean says had he and his dad gone to breakfast first before stopping at the house, they may not have seen Tinkerbell and been able to save her life.
I said, he's my hero. He's my hero.
There are still several feet of mud outside the Needhams' home, and the inside is a mess. The house is red tagged. The Needhams are trying to figure out what they're going to do next because they did not have flood insurance, and this is considered a flood. Reporting in Camarillo, I'm Melissa McBride, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Love to see that Tinkerbell brings them so much happiness, even in the midst of everything that they've lost. Wow. Jonathan Novak is in for Danny Romero tonight. He's got a first check of the forecast. Jonathan.
Giovanna, folks, Camarillo is one of the places that had record rainfall from this system that moved through over the weekend. So, yeah, we had some rain, but it is now moved out, and things are dry. Live Meganopolis 7000 HD showing that all that shower activity with the system that we had. Now east of the Four Corners region, heading through Albuquerque, storms and cold weather ahead for them and portions of West Texas. For us, it was a cool day, but sunny. For the most part, sunny. 70 degrees was our high, below normal. The low of 53 was also below normal, but we've got a warm-up in store. For tonight, we've got one more night of really cold weather. It is 61 right now in downtown. A lot of 50s already. Santa Clarita 54, 59 Van Nuys. Palmdale 49, where we have a frost advisory for tomorrow morning. But things will start warming up starting tomorrow afternoon and even more going into the 7-day forecast. And I'll tell you about that coming up in a few minutes.
Okay, Jonathan, we'll see you then.
Okay.
Authorities continue to search for answers in the deadly space rocket explosion over the Mojave Desert. NTSB investigators are on the ground right now scouring a 5-mile-long debris field. This as billionaire Richard Branson vows the effort to commercialize space travel will go on. ABC's Alex Perez has more, including whether there were warning signs.
NTSB investigators on the ground in the Mojave Desert sifting through debris, hunting for clues that might tell them what caused the Spaceship Two to fall apart midair. 2 pilots were on board that test flight Friday. Michael Alsbury was killed. Peter Siebold ejected and remains hospitalized with serious injuries. Word today, he is alert and talking. But today, one senior aerospace engineer is speaking out. Carolyn Campbell claiming she and other top engineers warned about the dangers of Virgin Galactic's nitrous oxide-propelled rockets after a 2007 incident that killed 3 engineers testing an engine on the ground. Their warnings ignored, says Campbell.
It's a PR-driven haste to accomplish something that should have been done in a far more measured, timely and engineering-led fashion.
Saturday, Branson addressed some of the criticism following the crash.
To be honest, I find it slightly irresponsible that people who know nothing about what they're saying can be saying things before the NTSB makes their comments.
Branson has some 700 reservations. Jim Clash is one of those with a reserved seat. He plans to raid his 401k to pay for it and says the Spaceship Two crash won't deter him.
The core group that signed up for this, and there's over 700 now, they get it. They understand there's risks, and they're willing to take those risks.
And if you're wondering if any of those people with reserved seats to space are having second thoughts, Virgin Galactic says it is offering ticket holders refunds, but so far no one has backed out. It could be a year before that NTSB investigation is complete. Alex Perez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Funeral services are set for tomorrow for a pilot who crashed during a military training exercise at a Ventura County Naval Base. 45-year-old Charles Rogers will be laid to rest in North Ogden, Utah. Rogers worked for a company that provided tactical training to the U.S. military. He was in a Mk-58 Hawker Hunter when it crashed near Port Hueneme on Wednesday. Rogers was the only one on board. The NTSB is investigating the accident.
A large-scale training exercise today at the Ontario airport simulating a possible terror attack. The drill brought together members of many different agencies to test their multi-assault counter-terrorism action capabilities. The 4-hour exercise covered 3 different scenarios involving suspects with firearms and even had dummies who were covered in fake blood. After last November's deadly shooting at LAX, officials say they had specific goals in mind with today's simulation.
Specifically, we're working on working as a team to go down and to attack whatever threat is here at the airport and to solve that threat, while at the same time dealing with multiple victim incident and how do we deal with the victims.
Officials say today's exercise is just one type of training that they do. Smaller exercises are done every day.
The prosecutor who sought twice to try Michael Jackson on child molestation charges has died. Tom Snedden died yesterday at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital after a battle with cancer. He investigated Jackson on child sexual abuse allegations twice. The first case fell apart after a young boy's family accepted a settlement from Jackson. The second set of allegations resulted in a televised trial in 2005 that ended with Jackson being acquitted. Snedden was 73 years old.
Ahead on Eyewitness News, a closure on the 405 freeway to tell you about tonight.
And we now know what caused the fire on the Seven Dwarfs train ride at the Magic Kingdom. We'll explain.
Plus, one woman tricks herself while handing out treats on Halloween. We'll tell you what she handed out instead. Plus, her quest to get that precious item back. It turns out debris from fireworks is what caused a fire at the Seven Dwarfs train ride at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, Florida. Disney officials say the fire was small. It happened on the outer part of the structure and not on the train itself. There were no injuries to report, and the fire broke out during regular park hours, and the ride was reopened around midnight. The Seven Dwarfs train is one of the newest rides at the park. Disney is the parent company of ABC7.
Some big closures on the 405 freeway to tell you about. Both directions of the 405 will be closed overnight from Cherry Avenue to Lakewood Boulevard, adjacent to Long Beach Airport. Lanes will be closed starting at 8 p.m., then reopened by 6 a.m. Monday through Thursday. Crews will be working on part of a damaged overpass, which is set to be demolished and replaced in a $2.5 million repair.
Jonathan Novak in for Danny Romero this weekend, and things will get warmer.
Much warmer. But you know what? It was sunny today. Some places had some clouds, though. You know what happens? We got all this moisture left over. It rides up those slopes, and we see some of that air cool down, the moisture condense, and we have this. A nice time lapse for you from Running Springs to start things off in your forecast. That was it, though, in the way of cloud cover. Not much to talk about in that regard. It was a nice, pleasant day, a little cool, though, as you know, if you're outside at all. Live Megan Opera 7000 HD showing a dry picture. All that rain, once again, way off to the east, storms and cold weather. Right now in New Mexico, up to Colorado, where they're looking for wintry stuff in Colorado. Okay, we had, if you didn't catch some of these numbers over the last 24 hours, record rainfall in Camarillo, Santa Maria, and Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara, 1.25 plus inches of rain from this rain event. Everybody else was generally around a quarter to a half of an inch, and then today was dry. 61 in Long Beach right now. We have clear skies, and because we're clear, it's one of the factors, along with some drier air that's moved in, that we're going to allow that heat, whatever we did have from today, to escape much more easily, and we cool off. It's called radiational cooling, all right? So overnight, it's going to be really cold in Big Bear. It's going to be in the teens, where it's 30 right now, 59 in Burbank, and 59 in Van Nuys. We're already dropping down to 58 in Ojai. Cold front off to the east. That's what I just showed you right there with the rain in New Mexico, and we're going to see high pressure build in. Right now, it's off to the west of us. It's going to take about a day for it to really make an impact. We'll have a slow warming trend for tomorrow, and then it really ramps up. I'll show you right now into Tuesday, and especially, here you go, Wednesday and Thursday. You can really see it, the visual here. This is the atmospheric pattern, if you will, the future scan showing the energy and the layout of the big scale of the atmosphere. You see this arc, that's high pressure. This is Tuesday, 4 p.m. That high is approaching California, and by Wednesday, it is over us. And we're seeing temperatures near 90 degrees on Wednesday and Thursday in the valleys. That is not what we're supposed to have in November. You know that. 75 tomorrow in LA, 74 Ontario, 75 Long Beach. A mild day. It's going to be sunny, dry. In fact, sunshine all week. You don't have a cloud in there for the 7-day forecast. 80s in your 7-day for LA Metro and Orange County by Tuesday. And then near 90 by Wednesday and Thursday. We'll cool down a little toward the end of the week, but overall, this is an extended period of unusually warm weather for this time of year. Valleys, IE, 75 tomorrow after a low of 48. 82 on Tuesday and 90 on Wednesday. You're near that on Thursday, and you're staying in those 80s from that point on. The mountains, you got 2 days of really cold mornings, but you're into the 60s by Wednesday afternoon. So just bundle up the next couple of days. And then the high desert, 35 tomorrow morning, where there is a frost advisory for tomorrow morning in Palmdale, Lancaster. Tuesday looks good into the 70s, and by Thursday, you're at 80 degrees. I'm going to have the latest on this forecast coming up in a few minutes. Back to you guys at the desk.
Jonathan, thank you. Los Angeles County health officials are warning that an injured bat with rabies was found in Azusa, and anyone who may have had contact with it should seek medical attention. The bat was found October 25th. Officials say most bats do not have rabies and are of no harm to people, but it is important to never touch bats. No problem. I'm not going near them.
And just in time for Halloween. New at 8, one Arizona woman pulled a trick on herself this Halloween. While passing out candy, she accidentally gave one trick-or-treater her wedding ring. Brooklyn Yazzie says she put her ring in a candy jar while she was helping her daughters carve pumpkins, then absent-mindedly dumped the jar into a candy bag of a trick-or-treater. Yazzie was just 20 years old when she got married and says her husband couldn't afford a fancy ring at the time, but she says that ring is still priceless to her.
If you were to try and pawn it or, sell it, you can probably get $50 for it. It's my wedding ring, I mean, you could replace it, but it's not the same.
Yazzie is hoping someone has the ring and just doesn't know who it belongs to or how to return it.
I hope she gets it back.
I do too. It's sad.
Yeah, this stunt is not for the faint of heart.
No. Coming up on Eyewitness News, we'll show you one man's death-defying act as he walks across the Chicago skyline on a high wire with no net. Plus this story.
When it first came along, it tried to compete with the leading cars in the mid-size sedan segment. Now, it's their equal in many ways. I'm car specialist Dave Coons. I'll show you this mid-size contender coming up.
More great news for drivers. Gas prices continue their downward trend. Right now in the LA Long Beach area, a gallon of regular gas will run you about $3.34. That's a 9-cent drop in a week. In Orange County, the price is even lower at an average of $3.30. That's a 10-cent drop. In the Inland Empire, gas is about $3.29 a gallon, and in Ventura County, expect to pay about $3.32.
And one of those cars you can put that cheap gas into is the Hyundai Sonata. The latest edition may not have its traditional style, but as car specialist Dave Coons shows us, it does pick up an upscale vibe.
The midsize sedan segment is a competitive one, so Hyundai has given its Sonata a complete redesign for 2015. It's a car that's gone from a sort of also-ran to a bona fide contender among car shoppers. But let's step back a bit and remember the Sonata from 2 generations ago, which was pretty conservative in its styling. Then Hyundai made a splash with a striking redesign in 2010. Many people who would never have given a Hyundai a second look gave the stylish Sonata a first look and then took it home. So now, the newest redesign. A bit more conservative, but there's a reason for that. When the Sonata first came out a number of years ago, Hyundai's plan was that it would be a bargain alternative to the leaders in the midsize segment, like the Toyota Camry and Honda Accord. As the car improved in recent years, it became the equal to those cars in many ways. Now the Sonata is getting help from an upscale member of the Hyundai brand itself. Part of building a look for a car line is having a cohesive design for all the models. If the new Sonata looks a little familiar, it's because it carries some styling cues from Hyundai's luxury sedan, the Genesis. Somewhat conservative looking itself, the premium Genesis is nonetheless a feather in the Korean brand's cap. So with that, the Sonata becomes a kind of scaled-down Genesis. 4 cylinders only under the hood, as with the prior Sonata. Buyers in this segment are usually after fuel efficiency, and the direct-injected 2.4-liter delivers, with 24 city to 37 highway EPA ratings. Safety is another selling tool, and here too Hyundai upped the ante. Available safety systems include forward collision warning, something that's been finding its way into more and more moderately priced cars. Beyond that, the Sonata continues to offer the things mid-size buyers look for in a car: a roomy interior, lots of features, and reasonable operating costs. The midsize Hyundai does a lot of things well. It just doesn't do it with as much pizzazz as the previous Sonata. Dave Coons, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
And now we go to Chicago, where high-wire daredevil Nick Wallenda has completed 2 hair-raising skyscraper walks without a safety net or harness. Draped between 2 high-rise buildings, the tightrope began at 588 feet and ended at 671 feet, spanning over 450 feet across the Chicago River. Wallenda completed it in about 6.5 minutes, but if that looked too easy, the 35-year-old added another element to his second walk, a blindfold. He completed that one easily as well. Up next, he says he wants to recreate a 1,200-foot-long walk made famous by his grandfather.
His grandfather, who I believe died falling off of a tightrope. The whole family does it. They're all incredibly impressive.
Well,
but there's also something a
that
little loose there. That is incredible. And
take a deep breath.
Yeah, I'm getting chills just kind of watching him up there. Okay, that's enough. I can't take it anymore. It's too much. We are updating our top stories at 8:30 here on Eyewitness News on LA56.
And heartbreak in Anaheim. The family of a woman struck and killed today by a hit-and-run driver is demanding justice.
Plus, we're learning more about a deadly boat accident in Northern California. What investigators say made that boat capsize.
And a cruise ship disaster in the Bahamas finally docked. We hear from passengers who survived the scare at sea.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 8:30 p.m. on LA56.
Our top stories at 8:30. Police make multiple arrests in connection with the Halloween hit-and-run deaths of 3 teenage girls in Santa Ana. I'm Giovanna Lotta.
I'm Jory Rand. This is Eyewitness News at 8:30 on LA56. The arrests were made this morning, but police wouldn't give any more information until a news conference set for tomorrow. Investigators say 13-year-old twin sisters and a 13-year-old friend were struck and killed in a crosswalk while trick-or-treating. A damaged black Honda SUV was found abandoned nearby.
Cleanup continues in Camarillo after a mudslide wreaked havoc through one neighborhood. But in the midst of all the mess, a reason to celebrate. A 5-year-old dachshund, feared buried in the mud, has been found alive. This morning, the grandson of the owners spotted Tinkerbell sitting in a window inside the home. Ventura County firefighters rescued Tinkerbell and reunited her with her owners.
A 44-year-old mother of 8 was killed by a hit-and-run driver while riding her bicycle in Anaheim. The crash happened last night near North Magnolia and West La Palma Avenues. Eyewitness News reporter Darsha Phillips spoke with the victim's family and has their message to the driver who fled the scene.
He's not going to bring her back, but he needs to come and bring himself.
Daniela Palacios' family makes a desperate plea to the person who hit and killed the mother of 8 while she rode her bicycle to the store.
Just think about if it was your mother, you know? You wouldn't want someone just leaving. You would want some kind of justice.
The 44-year-old was just blocks from her home Saturday night when she was struck by a driver in a white pickup truck. That driver fled the scene.
I saw her family here, and I just think that, you know, how people can do that to them, like not stop to help her.
Palacios was transported to the hospital where she later died.
I was just hoping I was going to wake up and see her come in. I'm home, mija. I didn't get that this morning.
Many people say Daniela Palacios was a very kind person who would often make food and hand it out to the homeless in this park.
She didn't have much, but whatever she did have, she would offer it. You know, I don't know. She was a good person.
Palacios had just celebrated her birthday last week. Her family says they must now plan her funeral and find a way to explain her death to her young grandkids.
She was the mother and grandmother who has been taken from us just a little too soon.
In Anaheim, I'm Darsha Phillips, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
A pursuit ends in a crash this morning in a Fullerton neighborhood. Police say it began on the 710 freeway near Firestone. Sheriff's deputies were initially involved, but the CHP took over. The chase ended near Baker and Orchard after the suspect crashed his car. He was taken into custody. No significant injuries were reported. In Glendora, 2 people are hospitalized with critical injuries after a collision sent both of their cars over an embankment. It happened around 1:30 this morning on Glendora Mountain Road. Police say one vehicle plummeted 200 feet over the cliff. The other car fell 10 feet before coming to a stop. A passenger in one of the vehicles is also being treated for minor injuries.
A blaze destroyed a house in South Pasadena overnight despite the efforts of firefighters from 5 different cities. That fire broke out just before 4 this morning on the 800 block of Kendall Avenue. When firefighters arrived, the house was already fully involved. Fire officials say excessive storage inside the home fed those flames. It took them nearly an hour to knock the fire down. No one was living in the house, and no injuries were reported. Investigators say they're looking at the heating and electrical systems as a possible cause.
A wave hit a private crabbing boat in Bodega Bay, north of San Francisco, causing it to capsize. 4 people were killed, 1 survived. The lone survivor told rescuers they were returning from the opening day of crabbing season. He managed to swim to shore and hold on to some rocks until he was rescued by a CHP helicopter. A Coast Guard retrieved the bodies of the 4 victims, 3 men and 1 woman. None of them were wearing life vests.
A Halloween scare for vacationers on the cruise liner Bahamas Celebration. Passengers were stranded after the ship slammed into something at sea. That ship is now docked and everyone is safe, but many weren't sure it was going to end that way. As ABC's Mara Schiavocampo reports, passengers say there was chaos after emergency safety measures went into effect.
A scare at sea.
There's currently a leak. Emergency.
960 passengers aboard the Bahamas Celebration cruise ship scrambling for life jackets.
They need a kid's ride back there.
And forced to evacuate.
Everybody's freaking out.
After the ship hit an unidentified object off Grand Bahama Island Friday night, creating a hole in the vessel.
People were crying. People were hysterical.
We could feel the boat tipping over.
Passengers telling ABC News the ship came to a jerking halt before plunging into darkness.
The lights blew out. We were all eating. It became total chaos.
The two-day cruise had taken off from West Palm Beach, Florida for the Bahamas. It was on its way back when the accident occurred. Those frightening moments happening, ironically, during what had been billed as a Halloween horror cruise.
Stay alert at all times.
Tonight, Celebration Cruise Line officials say no passengers were ever in any danger. The 600-foot ship remains in the Bahamas, listing heavily to one side. The passengers, meanwhile, safe on dry land, catching a ride back to Florida on a super-fast ferry, returning to Palm Beach one day later than scheduled. After a fright night,
it was so horrible, very scary.
They won't soon forget. Mara Schiavocampo, ABC News, New York.
Wow. Jonathan Novak is in for Danny Romero tonight. He's got a look at our weather and a warm-up on the way. Jonathan?
Big warm-up. Big, long-lived warm-up. We can get to it. You know, half the weekend was wet, the other half was dry, but today was cool. There's that system off to the east of us now that brought us the rain and the cooler weather that you felt today. You have plenty of sunshine, no rain at all showing up. It is dry tonight. Live Mega Doppler 7000 HD showing that clearly. The Almanac. Downtown, it was only 70 today, below average. Low was 53, below average, but that's going to be changing in a couple of days. Tonight, it is 59 right now in Burbank. You're going to cool down once again below average. It's going to be a chill. There will be a chill in the air tomorrow when you wake up, but then that's the end of the cold weather. Let's take a look at what's going on right now outside in Wrightwood and Big Bear, where temperatures are going to go down into the teens tonight, but by tomorrow afternoon into the 70s already. So we begin the warm-up by noon, and it gets even warmer after that. Details coming up in the 7-day.
Okay, Jonathan, see you then. Election day is just around the corner.
Still to come on Eyewitness News, we caught up with the two LA County supervisor candidates, what they have to say.
Plus, President Obama gets frustrated with some relentless hecklers. We'll show you what message he would eventually have for them. Welcome back. President Obama was out making a final election push to help Democrats today, but hecklers kept interrupting him during his speech in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
And thanks to leaders like them,
those hecklers were protesting U.S. immigration policy. The president told the crowd he supports immigration reform, and as he put it, quote, "I'm not the one blocking it." Those protesters were escorted out, one of them wearing a T-shirt that said, "Obama deports parents."
Last-minute campaigning today in one of the tightest races in Los Angeles County. Today, we caught up with L.A. County Supervisor candidate Bobby Schreiber and his opponent, Sheila Kuehl. Schreiber stopped by at a Santa Monica phone bank where his supporters are hard at work hoping to win over voters just days before Tuesday's election.
Look at all these people phoning. They're calling everybody in the neighborhoods. People are out walking. So it's exciting. Retail politics, I love it. It's fun. Door knocking, canvassing, calling, getting the vote out. It's exciting.
I feel really energetic. I don't know why. You know, it's been 2 years of this, and I should be tired. But when you have all these people show up and they're all so supportive, it just makes me feel very happy.
Sheila Kuehl is hoping to rally her supporters, but says the bottom line is simply getting people out to vote on Tuesday.
And you can prepare yourself for Tuesday's election by going to abc7.com/vote. There you'll find Eyewitness News reports on all the big issues and races. And we want to see your Election Day photos. When you head to the polls Tuesday, take a photo or shoot a video and then share it on social media with the hashtag ABC7Eyewitness. You can also upload to the ABC7 app.
One runner crosses the finish line in the New York City Marathon, but she wasn't doing it just for herself.
What one woman does for her husband will inspire you. More on this courageous couple when we come back.
And in the NFL, it was the 16th meeting between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Highlights of the AFC showdown coming up in sports.
Severe weather is hitting the coast of Massachusetts. High winds and heavy rains blasted the area today. Other parts of the state saw more wicked weather, as they say in the region. Snow blanketed Boston. It is the first snow of the season. Meteorologists call this storm with rain, wind, and snow in this direction a classic nor'easter.
Yeah. They climb right up that east coast and they pull down that cold out there. That's when you get that happening. So we
not a lot of
did
fun.
not have it. We had Pacific moisture coming in. We had this front that caused rain, and it caused a cold day today, but the rain at least was gone. So that's good. Now, New Mexico's dealing with it, actually. Hey, this is what happened. So we had enough moisture left over that we actually saw some clouds over the mountain tops, and that was it in terms of the extent of the cloud cover today, but it's really cool what happens. We see the air rise up and cool down, and as a result, when air cools, it doesn't hold as much moisture. That's what we say. It's what really how it works. It cools down, and that moisture condenses. And you get the clouds. That's what happens. It's called orographic lift. And another view of it, really cool, through the San Joaquin Valley, you see right here, those clouds, that north-northwest wind that comes in behind that front, brings all that moisture that was left over through California, tries to get up over into Ventura County, but it didn't happen. So most of us had sunshine today, and the moisture was kept at bay up to the north. Live Meganopolis 7000 HD, we are dry tonight. It is looking good. It's looking cool. It is 63 in Malibu right now. Good evening to you. Humidity's low. Dry air, clear skies. We lose any heat that we actually had today, which wasn't much, very easily. And so temperatures are going to drop a lot, and it's going to be a cool morning. Right now it is 61 in L.A., Long Beach, and Fullerton. It is 65 in Santa Ana. Palm Springs cooling down. Even you were in the upper 60s. And tomorrow morning is going to be a big chill in the air. So this trough low pressure is now up to the east of us. And again, New Mexico, West Texas, Colorado dealing with the rain and the snow and the cold weather. And we're looking at this high pressure that's going to build in over the next 24 hours. Look at the timing of this. The future scan shows that high pressure for tomorrow is just going to edge against the California area. But by Tuesday, it's moving in, and by Wednesday, right over us. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a significant warm-up. And it's going to last, it looks like, into the weekend. So we have an extended period of unusually warm weather for this time of year. So either enjoy it or keep hoping for the rain. This was at least a good start this past weekend. Highs tomorrow right there on the screen. You see lower to mid-70s for most of us. And lows are going to be pretty cold to start it off. But then after that, things are really nice. So LA Metro, Orange County, this is your 7-day. 52 in the morning, 75 in the afternoon, and into the 80s by Tuesday. You're nearing 90 by Wednesday and Thursday. The rest of the week after that looks nice, warm. You don't see a cloud. No one's got a cloud. I don't have a cloud in there for anybody. Valley's IE, 48 in the morning, 75 in the afternoon. So we begin to warm up there, but it really kicks into high gear on Tuesday, 90 on Wednesday, and near that on Thursday. Temperatures still in the 80s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The mountains, you got another day in the teens in the morning, 40s in the afternoon, 22 Tuesday morning, 50 in the afternoon, and then forget about it, 60s after that. From that point on, it looks really good. The high desert, breezy and a cold start, and then temperatures warming into the 70s by Tuesday on. That's your forecast. Have a great night, everybody.
Jonathan, thank you. You too. More than 50,000 runners hit the pavement for the New York City Marathon today.
But one runner in particular gave new meaning to the phrase mission accomplished. ABC's John Donovan has the inspiring story.
They all had their reasons for getting to that finish line today, but this woman running her second marathon ever would have hers waiting just across the finish line. Her name is Jessica Berman. She ran her first marathon back in 2004 with her husband, Brad. Brad was going to repeat in New York last year. Running was big for him.
I was probably running 4 or 5 days a week, and that's how I started my day.
But Brad never got to the starting line last year. Jessica remembers the phone call.
Brad basically told me to come right home. Something wasn't right.
It was a stroke from a congenital brain malformation that required serious surgery.
Never in a million years would I have thought my healthy 37-year-old husband was having a stroke.
Brad came out of it unable to master the left side of his body, and with a long, long way to go to what he wants to do again someday.
He was telling me, even when he was in his really brain-injured state, I want to run again.
Take a long step and then reach.
For now, he's learning to walk again with robotic support paid for by donations that Jessica and her friends raised by running.
Go, Jess!
And so there was today, where Jessica ran for Brad.
I never really wanted to run another marathon, and certainly not without him.
Well, she did. And this afternoon she finished, and waiting for her, Brad and the boys.
I'm proud of myself. I never thought I could do something like that alone.
Because what is a marathon, if not a long, long way to go. John Donvan, ABC News, Washington.
It's not your usual pregame meal before a big football game. Not at all. The Garfield Bulldogs and Roosevelt Rough Riders got together for the second annual Beef Bowl. Players and coaches from both teams met at Stevens Steakhouse in Commerce to eat. The event started last year as a way to promote goodwill and sportsmanship between the two rivals. And our own Kurt Sandoval was master of ceremonies. The East Los Angeles Football Classic is this Saturday. Always a big game.
Yeah, and just a little beefier than he was this morning. Here's Kurt now with a look at sports.
Filled up on some good conversation about football. They've been doing that rivalry, you realize, for 80 years?
Yeah, a long time.
It's a historic event here in LA, and happy to be part of it. This week in the National Football League, speaking of football, saw the return of QB RG3, but he did not get the W. And if that sounds confusing, how about this? The Raiders. 0-8, falling at the hands of the defending champs from Seattle, and the Chargers. Boy, what a mystery team. Third straight loss today, losing 37-0 to Miami. Matchup of the day, clearly that one. Oh, the beautiful split screen between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and guess who won again? That's right, Tom Brady, because Manning was once again horrible in the big game. Brady answers that pick, finding Julian Edelman. In fact, the Patriots scored 24 points in the second quarter. By the time they went to the fourth, Rob Gronkowski, who just owned him today, his 50th career touchdown. Brady 4 scores as the Patriots humbled the Broncos, 43-21. San Francisco, one of the toughest teams to figure out. World beaters one week, struggling against St. Louis the next. Tied at 3, Colin Kaepernick finds Anquan Bolden. The two connect on the 27-yard touchdown. But this thing was far from over. Just before the half, the Rams defense makes a play of their own, sacking Cap, forcing the fumble, which leads to a tying touchdown, and the Niners were down 3, 10 seconds to go. Kaepernick can plunge it in. He fumbled, and the Rams recover and win the football game, 13-10, your final. Well, the Clippers, a different story. No losses yet hosting Sacramento. First quarter, Blake Griffin looks to have the breakaway on the dunk, but just gets hammered. Blake says he's not going to take the hard fouls this year, and you can see the refs had to step in and separate him. The Clips have not found an answer for DeMarcus Cousins, who was scoring at will today with 34 points, 17 rebounds. They're up by 10 points in the fourth quarter. Kings up 92-90, closing seconds. Now, remember, the Clippers have not played well down the stretch, and Darren Collison, the former Clipper, burns them. Clippers take their first L of the year. Sacramento wins at 98-92. Hockey, defending champs, and Mr. Happy trying to not lose their third straight on the road in Carolina, and Carolina comes up with this one, 3-1, the laser, if you will. Kings come back. Alec Martinez, who was so instrumental in the playoffs last year, brings it within 1. Royal Ones had one more shot. Talk about so close but yet so far. Look at that. With just a couple of seconds left on the power play, a minute left in the game, but the Kings cannot get this one, losing 3-2 your final. And finally, best story of the afternoon, Mount St. Joseph's College. Lauren Hale got her wish to play collegiate basketball. She's suffering from an inoperable brain tumor, and today marked her first and last game at the school. Hill not only scored the first bucket or basket, whichever you prefer. St. Joseph won the game 66-55. A lot of folks up in Santa Clarita running the marathon today, too. So a tip of the cap to all the, not just New York marathoners, but such a personal to endure a marathon.
Oh, yeah, and we were talking about the winner of the New York City Marathon. If we were going to try and accomplish that feat,
4:45 a mile, which
for
equates
26 miles,
which equates to about 72 seconds.
That is
per
unbelievable.
Quarter. Yeah,
we can do one lap of a track.
We'll do a story on that.
Still not.
You and I are going to go to the track. We'll Facebook it. Come on.
Let them talk about that. We'll move on with the news.
Yeah, it'll be funny.
Coming up later tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7, the midterm elections are just over a day away, with control of the House and Senate hanging in the balance. Both parties are pulling out all the stops to get people to the polls. Plus, taking love to new heights, a couple decides to tie the knot thousands of feet in the air. Those stories and all the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7.
Well, coming up on Eyewitness News here on LA56, we'll tell you what topped the box office this weekend.
And a good friend working to save his little buddy from cancer. What he's doing to help and how you can do your part, too, when we come back.
It was a scary, close finish as the box office closed out this weekend.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's a great piece of tape.
The Jake Gyllenhaal thriller Nightcrawler and the board game adaptation Ouija tied for first place at the box office, each bringing in $10.9 million in ticket sales. In Nightcrawler, Gyllenhaal plays an ambulance-chasing man who shoots gory footage for the local news. Ouija was last week's top movie and reaped the benefits once again from the holiday spirit this Halloween weekend. When the numbers are official tomorrow, one film will slightly edge out the other. Meantime, Fury, Gone Girl, and The Book of Life round out the top 5.
And now to one of our favorite stories of the weekend. A young philanthropist is celebrating the 2-year anniversary of his book called Chocolate Bar, which he wrote to help find a cure for his best friend's rare liver condition. Dylan Siegel and his best friend Jonah Pornazarian returned to Wise Elementary School in Bel Air today, where it all started to celebrate the milestone. The goal 2 years ago was to raise $500,000. Today, nearly $900,000 has been raised. 100% of the funds go to the University of Florida to research Jonah's disease.
I feel amazing that he has wrote this book for me to help me find a cure for my disease. Think about what you want to do, just do it, and if you want help, ask your parents, and you can make anything happen.
Absolutely. The Chocolate Bar book, which is about lots of good things like chocolate bars, has sold more than 20,000 copies. Now that's a good
that
friend.
Is great. Good job, Dylan, and good luck, Jonah. Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 8 here on LA56.
Good night.